Broadcasting live from WOYK's downtown York studios, this is York's Local Sports Show. Talking local sports on York's local sports station. Welcome to Game Day with Game Time PA on Sports Radio 1350 WOYK.
Welcome to Game Day of GameTimePA here on Sports Radio 1350. Another beautiful day here in March in York, PA.
I just want to say that was probably the most, I don't like fun. I don't want to say fun, but we were just chatting and giggling like 2 seconds before we came on. Brandon's throwing the basketball around.
That's how good we've gotten at this show. Like, we used to come in with like tons of notes, like ready to go. Now it's like, hey, you guys are on in 2 seconds. Okay.
All right, cool, we got it.
Yeah, we're good. It's like riding a bike. You know?
Happy St. Patty's Day. Happy first day of March Madness. I don't count the first 4 games because that's all,
me neither.
all nonsense. So happy March Madness. Teddy, Zach, how you guys doing today?
Fantastic.
I'm chilling.
It's been really nice weather out. I just feel, I love covering the wrestling, but now that it's over, I feel like free. You know, I have this free time a little bit to like relax. I can sleep.
I feel like I haven't seen Zach since before wrestling season. Like during wrestling season, he's just like in another world.
The postseason is 4 weeks. Like that's rough out.
Whatever it really is.
That state championship or whatever the last one was took like 4 days.
3 days.
I was like, how is this still happening?
3 days, but it's all day. Like me and Andy were at the Giant Center more than
Andy last night was like, I got there like 8, 9, 10, and I left like 12:30. I was like, yo, bro.
He's not kidding. I would, and because I live in Hanover, it was drive back, like get 7 hours of sleep, hop right back in the car, and go straight back in the morning.
Yeah, like I remember I was reading Zach's tweets, and I was like, I thought this kid lost like 3 days ago. Like, how is he still in the championship round?
I just wanted to say it was funny. He said that last night. It's like, isn't that like sports journalists? It's like, you know, you're doing what you love to do, but like you're sacrificing other aspects of your life to do it.
Yeah,
like
sleep, food, a decent diet,
all those things,
exercise,
like on and like just like doing like just like doing a normal person stuff. Like I was watching wrestling for 30 straight hours.
Exactly. Like, hey, did you see that Seton Hall Villanova game? Like, no, I was at States.
Exactly. And like every time we talk about the weather being nice, it's from inside. Like, oh, look outside, the weather's nice, but we're not actually out.
It looks nice out.
Yeah, and you know it's funny because the weather's so nice right now. Like, obviously with the winter sports, you're covering everything indoors. It's like you hope the weather just stays like where it needs to be. Because this is actually a nice time of year. If the weather does kick into high gear, then you get to chill outside, cover some games. If it's like 30 degrees, freezing rain, you're covering the 6th inning of a baseball game. You know, that's a different story.
Yeah, that's what we got last year. It was a lot of cold, bad weather. I covered a track meet in like early May, and I had gloves on and a hat.
It was even crazy last year. Like, the fields didn't even thaw out. Like, I felt like it took 2 or 3 weeks to play the first baseball, softball game.
All the spring practices were indoors, and then like the couple lacrosse games into the season, I was at Spring Grove for a red line game. It was at nighttime. It was like 22 degrees, freezing rain or something like that. It was terrible. Yeah,
and I gotta say, on Tuesday, we did our all-star wrestling shoot up at Spring Grove High School. And you know the way you drive up to the school? I was driving in, a beautiful day out, and out there is like baseball teams practicing, softball teams practicing, track and field teams practicing. It was fantastic. It was so nice out.
Yeah, that's a cool feeling.
I will say that's one nice thing, covering like the sports in a warm weather state. Like, I never even thought about that, you know. And I came here last year, and they're like, baseball kept getting pushed back. That was never an issue, you know what I mean, in the Southwest ever. But obviously, different climate here, without question.
Now, Teddy, everyone who's watching us on a live stream right now, whether it's 4 people or 400 people,
I think it's 400.
Okay, let's lean toward 400. They have us on one tab and March Madness on the other tab. So I got to ask you for some Final Four picks. Give me who you got right now. It's sports related, so give me who you got.
I went A&M. I went Kentucky. I went Kansas. I went and I went Virginia. I got Kansas Kentucky meeting. I got
Kentucky going all the way on. Okay.
Brandon's gonna hate my bracket. I just know he is.
You got Nova.
I've got Villanova, Duke.
Yep, there you go.
UNC and Michigan State, with Michigan State going all the way.
I have UNC, Michigan State in the Final Four. I have Maryland in the coming out of the East, upsetting Kansas, and then I think I got Miami. No, Miami's in Maryland. The other one is Oregon or Oklahoma. I have one of those two.
Oklahoma's good.
But Buddy Hield is nice.
Oklahoma's good.
Do you have Maryland and Temple playing each other? Aren't they in the same region?
No, I avoided that by saying that Miami beats Temple. So then Maryland beats Miami, and Maryland goes to the Final Four.
I got you.
You know, I mean, for a lot of these things, like, I'm not gonna lie. I mean, I love basketball, and I used to really be into the college hoop scene. I've kind of fallen out of it a bit the last couple years, but like, I saw Temple. I'm like, you know what? hour and a half away. I'm picking them. I'm picking them to win a game. You know, I mean, you got to roll.
Right.
You got to do stuff like that.
And if they win the first round, they could play Nova. That's 2 Philly schools going head to head in the round of 32.
I actually saw Nova play this year. I saw them play Akron. They're a good team. Villanova's very good.
Well, anyone looks good against Akron.
No, Akron wasn't bad. You know what it was?
Brandon's gonna poo-poo anything Villanova, so don't even bother.
Okay, that's
I'm gonna trash.
Yeah, I thought Akron
Nova
was a nice little mid-major program, but Nova definitely. I mean, no one's keeping up with their.
Teddy
guards.
seems like someone that loves the mid-majors. Are you one of those?
Obsessed with them.
Yes.
Obsessed with the mid-majors.
Yeah, we'll like someone will randomly bring up like East New Mexico State, and Teddy will be like, "Yep, the Golden Gophers."
It was fun. Someone brought up Marquette basketball the other day. You know, you'd figure I'd be like, Dwayne Wade went there. I'm like Channing or Jay Crowder went there. I was like, what about Dwayne Wade? Yeah, I'm all about the mid-major underground players.
I was always about Marquette's uniforms. I love their uniforms.
Yeah.
But anyway, back to our local news. Sorry, we got caught up doing some March Madness, some big stuff in football yesterday. We're going to talk about it more later in the show, but York High made their coaching hire. Russ Stoner, he was for those of you who don't know Russ Stoner, he coached 16 years at Central as an assistant under Brad Livingston, 10 of those being the defensive coordinator. They had some great runs with those two together. And then he went and coached Spring Grove for 4 years. They went 1-9 their first season with a bunch of leftovers from the previous regime. And then he won the division title in his second year there. They ended up going, I think, 18-25 overall, but that first year really skewed it. But in 4 years, he went to the districts twice. He's been gunning for this job. Afterward, he said, I've wanted this one for about 3 months. He's been waiting on this one. He went to a lot of their games last year. He thinks he can help turn that program around. He knows there's a ton of talent in the city. And he said one of his cool quotes was, this is my hometown, this is my hometown's team. Like, this is the York High. This is York's team. I want to get them back to where they belong. And get them back to where they deserve to be. So he's fired up and ready to go. And from the early reactions on social media, it seems like the players and parents are pretty excited to have him too.
You know him well, and I want to say you even played for him a little bit when you played hoops at Central.
He dabbled in basketball for a year or two. I got to meet his family yesterday, and how he introduced me. He's like, "This is Brandon Stoneberg." When I did that 1 year in basketball, I helped coach him.
Okay.
Pretty sure he called me Sunshine during basketball season, but he thought everyone was soft who played basketball. If you didn't play football, you're soft, so you're Sunshine.
He brings his own style to the table. I mean, what do you think? What do you think of the fit?
I think it'll be a good fit, and we'll have more about this. We have a column coming out maybe Sunday, hopefully Sunday about
We're working on that.
We're working on that part, but I think he's a good fit. I think their biggest issue last year, what everyone was saying, was there was no respect between the coaches and players, and the coaches didn't demand anything. And if there's one person who can fix that issue, it's Coach Stoner. He's going to demand respect. He's a very big players coach. He's in your face, but he'll make you want to. Like when he coached me, I wanted to run through a brick wall, for him. He has that kind of like passion with you. You want to play hard for him. He gets that motivation drive. He's a very good motivator. Some people have he almost is polarizing sometimes, where he'll say whatever's on his mind, so he can kind of be in that Rex Ryan mold. But
he's for some, he's not for everyone. But
he's for some, he's not for everyone.
For the people that he's for, they run through the wall.
They run through the wall for him. And I think this is what York High needs right now. They don't need someone who. The issues what people said with Heinl was he wasn't in the weight room. He wasn't there during the offseason. That's not going to be an issue with Stoner, if that's what the problem was.
That's what people are saying.
Right.
We don't really, yeah.
But that's not going to be an issue with Stoner.
Let's be honest. It's a hard job.
It's a hard job. It's a tough fan base. They demand a lot.
It's a tough gig.
I think any coaching job in football at this time, nowadays, even basketball, parents are tough now.
I mean, they lost. They went 0-10 last year, and
they didn't come within single digits of anyone.
It was a awful 0-10. Yeah, I mean they got blown out every turn of the way. So I think with Coach Stoner, I'm cool with the move. I like what he brings to the table. I'm all about the straight shooter that's got some fire in his belly.
He's definitely got a fire.
You know what I mean? I think. Hey, we'll see. We'll see what he brings to the table. He's got to get kids to play. I know I would have to think they have skill at the skill positions.
There's a list of NFL players who have come out of York High. The talent is in the city.
What do you got?
But no one wanted to play for the previous coaching staff. So if he gets them out there and gets them going. I saw some kids yesterday, tweeting in Facebook, and if they were hitting the weight room today, that's how fired up they were. Let's get ready for season now. Let's get out there. And he said they're going to get to work right away because it's going to be a transition. They're not going to go 8-2, 9-1 next year. It's just not going to happen.
If they do, that's going to be
huge. Yeah,
That'd be the greatest story ever.
It will be the greatest. It'll be the greatest story in high school.
I think fans are going to be patient for him. His first year at Spring Grove, they won 1-9 because he was changing the culture there, and then the second year they won a division title. I can see a 2-8, 3-7 season this year, and then them being a contender again the following season. Yeah. But I think it's a great hire. We'll talk more about it.
We will
at the end of the show. Right now, we got Zach Miller on here. Like I said, he's been in the Giant Center covering wrestling for the last month and a half. But he's got some some game balls, singlets, helmets, whatever you want to give out to the wrestlers. I
don't know what else to call them other than game balls, but we're going to talk more wrestling in the next segment to wrap up the season. But I got game balls for the 6 York Adams area guys who medaled at states, and that's Ashton West from Bermudian Springs, Dakota Mackley from Eastern York, Gage Thomas from Southwestern. They all took 8th place. Nate Newberry from Biglerville earned 4th place. And then Dylan Chatterton from Central York and Dalton Rohrbaugh from Spring Grove both took bronze medals home. So congratulations to those 6 guys, and we'll talk a little more wrestling in the next segment.
Yeah, we will. So overall, York Adams had a pretty decent showing at the Giant Center?
Yeah, pretty decent showing with the medals. Same number of medals as last year. Good to see some kids get on the podium. But this was the first time since 2007 that there was no York Adams area guys in the finals. Of course, we had Chance Marsteller, 4 years in a row. That kind of helps make sure you have a finalist every year. But with Seth Janney, who was a finalist last year for Southwestern, transferring out of the district, nobody quite was able to get into the final, although 2 guys did take 3rd.
Was Janney back this year? Was he there?
Well, he goes to Malvern Prep now, which is not part of the PIAA. Okay. So he was not competing at the state tournament.
Okay, gotcha.
Yep. A little confusing. I didn't realize that either until a couple weeks ago.
Until the second week of the month-long tournament.
I was like, how's Janney doing?
All right, guys, we're going to wrap up the first segment. When we come back, like Zach said, we're going to wrap up all the wrestling talk. He's got a ton to talk about. We're going to finish that up. Then we're going to jump into some spring sports and then some Rush Stoner talk at the end. We'll see you after the break.
Let's do it.
Sure, the Revolution Baseball Club owns this radio station, but let me take a moment to reassure you. There's no gratuitous rooting for the hometown team.
And the Revs have won this game!
No hype.
This crowd going crazy!
We just give you unbiased calls
Unbelievable!
of every Revs game this season.
This game's over!
Nope.
Swing and a miss!
No homers here.
It is gone!
All right, maybe a little.
And let the party begin!
The Revolution plays here. The new Sports Radio 1350 WOYK.
Waking up with the Zabe. The Steve Zabin Show.
And we've got a Breathe Right strip controversy now heading into the Belmont. How come nobody in the annals of horse racing history thought to define whether or not you can wear a horsey Breathe Right strip? Isn't this the equivalent of a hood scoop on a car?
Your quarter panels are up 1/8 of an inch higher than mine. That allows for a little aerodynamic mess underneath the vehicle.
Join me, Steve Zabin, mornings at 6 on Sports Radio 1350 WOYK.
Looking for something cool to do this weekend? Come to the coolest place in town and learn to play hockey or figure skate at the York Ice Arena. The York Ice Arena offers a Learn to Skate program for skaters of all ages and abilities, directed by ISA and USFSA qualified instructors. Skating classes range from beginner to freestyle. Hockey classes cover the basics of the game. All classes include free skate rental and 5 free skating passes, so you can try out your new skills. And remember, the coolest place in town is also available for the coolest birthday party in town. Host your birthday bash in group spaces or with a private ice rental. Public skating at the York Ice Arena is available afternoons, evenings, and weekends. Skate for just $7 and rent your skates for just $3. Plus, you can save with discount pass books. Oh, and ask about gift cards and kids' prepaid debit cards. So if you're looking to learn something cool, come to the coolest place in town and learn to skate at the York Ice Arena. For more information and to register, go to yorkskate.com.
Bill Raftery from CBS Sports, the man who gave us the expression, onion. I actually thought that onions meant you're slicing onions and you're making the other team or coach cry with a big shot.
Well, it's about toughness. Okay. It really is.
So it has nothing to do with slicing onions. And I saw where you got criticized by one of the media critics that you shouldn't be saying onions because of what it means.
Well, that's his interpretation. It's just, I just think it's just somebody that these kids respond in the most difficult of moments and step up, and it's something that will be chronicled the rest of their lives. And
what's your wife say when you say, you know what, I say onions?
I wish you had them.
She said that she wishes you had onions? Patrick from 3.
On Sports Radio 1350 WOYK. First in York, first in sports.
At Northwestern Mutual, we take a disciplined and balanced approach to financial planning. Together, we'll help build your financial future on time-tested principles, not market trends, so you can take advantage of life's opportunities. To learn more, contact me, Dan McGarry, at my office on a square in York. Look for the blue awnings. Who's helping you build your financial future? The Northwestern Mutual Life Insurance Company, Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
Your county, your teams. Sports Radio 1350 WOYK. First in York, first in sports.
Welcome back to Game Day with GameTimePA here on Sports Radio 1350 WOYK. This segment's all wrestling. We've negated the wrestling talk the last few weeks without Zach. So you lovely fans in that fan base will now get to hear all about it because he was at the Giant Center for what seemed like 3 weeks covering the state tournament, and before that there was regionals.
3 months.
There was regionals and there were sectionals and there was counties and there was all kinds. It seemed like there was 4 or 5 different tournaments at the end.
Sectionals, districts, regional, states. That's the progression.
4 postseasons for one sport. Seems interesting. All right, Zach, take it away.
You gotta weed the guys out and make sure the best ones get to hurt you.
That's right.
All right, so what did you see at the Giant Center?
Well, we saw a local kid do something that's never been done before at States. That's Dylan Chatterton from Central York. He's a senior. He's been kicking butt for a while. He
broke his nose.
He did. That's not what I was gonna say, but yeah, he did. At districts, he broke his nose, and he'd been wrestling with a broken nose for the remainder of the postseason, and like a lot of blood time used to clean up bloody noses during matches. So
I just want to say, I know there's like you have things you have to get through, but the dude had a bandage over his face.
He looked like Bane in the picture.
He literally, at districts, they had to pop his nose back into place.
I gotta be honest with you, like, mad respect for that kid. Like, word up. Like, he's my favorite athlete of the I'm gonna write a column on him for the yearbook tab. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, they literally, like, it happened with 2 seconds left in his match. I think he was able to, they were able to clean him up. He was able to go out for a second and just, just kind of finish that match out. Then they popped the nose back into place, and then he had to go back out there a little bit later to wrestle another match. So, yeah, definitely props to him. And here's what he did at States, though, that's never been done before. Since the format was changed last year to allow 20 wrestlers instead of 16 at each weight class at States, he's the first one to ever be in a preliminary match, one of those, to get from the round of 20 to the round of 16, to lose there and then win out and end up in third place. So he lost and then won 6 matches in a row. He wrestled 7 matches in 3 days over the weekend with a broken nose, by the way, and he ended his career with a third-place medal. He had medaled his freshman year. He got 5th when he was really little, 106 pounds. Came up a little short of the podium his sophomore, junior year, got back up there as a 145-pounder now. I looked up a picture of him his freshman year. It doesn't even look like the same kid. He was like a little boy. Now he's
that's awesome.
A little man, essentially. So, yeah, I mean, that was probably the most remarkable thing I saw all weekend.
So we had some other names there. We had Nate Newberry was there. Gage Thomas was there.
Mm-hmm. The other one, Rohrbaugh also got 3rd. He's a sophomore from Spring Grove. He's 106-pounder, little guy. He's a 2-time qualifier. He has a chance to be the first 4-time qualifier in Spring Grove's history. No one has ever done that before. He looks like if he stays healthy, he'll be well on his way because he made it last year, and then this year he was tough all postseason. He only lost 1 match in the regular season, won his sectional title, won a district title, got to states, got to the semifinals, lost to the defending champion who ended up repeating, dropped back down to wrestlebacks, though, and bounced back with 2 really decisive wins against kids that won other regionals. So he had a fantastic season, only 2 losses the whole year. I think 40 wins. He tied he broke the wins record for a Spring Grove sophomore, tied the pins record for a Spring Grove sophomore. He probably would have had more if everyone didn't forfeited him during the regular season because he's so good. But yeah, those guys both had the best state runs of anybody. But like you said, we had a few other medalists too.
Yeah, wrestlebacks was something else that had to get explained to me this week. Someone was like, "Yeah, they're doing wrestlebacks now." I was like, "What does that even mean?"
Yeah, I mean that's just if you lose, no matter when you lose, kind of unless you lose in the final and you're second place. Anywhere else you lose, you still have a chance to get third place. So if you kind of get an unlucky draw and you're facing the best kid in the world in the first round and you lose. If that happens in NCAA basketball tournament, you're out. Your tournament's over. Here, though, it gives you a little bit of a chance to prove that you're one of the top guys. If you're going to give medals to first place, second place, third place, they make the tournament run so you really get the right guy in third place, not just the guy who was able to get to the semifinals necessarily. That might be two different people.
Now, last year you came right in the midst of wrestling season. It's like your year anniversary, basically. I feel like you
little
got
past.
here for
I got
the state
here
tournament.
the week of districts. I got here, so I jumped right in and covered districts my first
that.
week.
Man, was I happy.
Yeah,
I bailed Brandon out.
I remember I was like, this Miller guy knows wrestling. Now, I guess my question is the atmosphere there. I mean, it's renowned. People talk about the state wrestling tournament here, the Pennsylvania wrestling scene. I feel like I owe it to everyone involved to get up there one of these years just to see it. Tell the listeners out there what it's all about and just kind of what you took away from that.
Yeah, I mean, it's a cool atmosphere. You got 4 to 6 mats going at a time, and you got. I think the first 2 days of the tournament, there were 5,000 or 6,000 people in the house for each session. They usually split it up into 2 or 3 sessions each day. 5,000-6,000 people in. And then the last day, I think it was 9,000 something for 2A, 10,000 for 3A. And, I mean, the fans, they know their stuff. I'm very good with keeping track of what's going on with the York Adams kids. I don't necessarily know the history of some of the kids in other places, but I have Andy Meese with me, and he would
have been good to have on today, actually.
Yeah, he knows everything. Like, the crowd starts getting into it. Like, what's going on with those kids over there? Like, oh, he's from Pittsburgh. Like, Andy knows everything. He keeps me in the loop. But one thing that was really cool that I saw this year in 2A, there was a weight class, I think it was 126 pounds, where 3 of the kids in the weight class were defending champions from last year, all from 3 different weight classes. And then there was also a kid in that weight class who came in second last year. He beat all 3 of the defending champions in a row on the way to winning his state title. He was from Athens area high school. And the crowd, I mean, when he won his championship, that was as electric of an atmosphere as I've seen in the Giant Center ever. Like, the whole crowd was into it, rooting for him, because it was a great run that had never happened before in the history of the state tournament, that someone had beaten 3 defending champions in one tournament.
Was it, when you say crowd, are we looking at 8,000, 9,000, or is it not that? Are we looking at 4 or 5?
No, it was 9. It was probably 9,000 for 2A, 10,000 for 3A is what they announced today.
I mean, I won Giant Center.
Giant Center holds 10,500.
Yeah.
And I mean, the only seats that were empty is way up in the rafters, kind of on each, behind where baskets would be if it was a basketball game. You see some empty seats up there, but on the sides, going the whole way up, I mean, it's packed.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and most of the people, too, like, I mean, I'm sure they're there just cheering on kids from a team or maybe even just one kid, but a lot of them, they're in tune with what's going on, and if something's happening on another mat that's like what I was explaining with someone pulling off an epic run that's never been seen before, they know, and they get into it. And, it's exciting. There was also a match there's a kid from Exeter Township who gave some of our kids fits all season, and he's the kind of kid that can come out and score 20 points in a period, tech fall you before you even had time to break a sweat. And he was going up against a kid who I guess has won a world championship. And the kid from Exeter lost 15-0. He just got like demolished. But the place was buzzing for a little while after that match. Like, people were excited to see that one, and the place was still, there was some energy in the air just from how excited people were.
Getting back to our kids, was there anybody that kind of didn't live up to what you thought they were? Anybody that fell a little bit short of what you expected?
I mean, there were some kids that got tough draws.
Let's hear it.
One specifically, Owen Worley from Southwestern. He's got more wins than anybody in Southwestern history. He's got 137 wins. He's been to states 3 times. He never medaled, and he, I guess a little bit of it is his fault for losing his first round match. But what ended up, the way the bracket shook out is because they randomly draw the matchups. There was a kid ranked 2nd in the country going against a kid ranked number 10 in the country in the quarterfinals. And so the way the bracket worked out was in wrestlebacks, he had to face the loser of that match for a spot on the podium. And I mean, it didn't go well for him, as you might expect. So it was a tough draw, though, because if he was anywhere else in the bracket, he probably would have medaled. So, that's just some of the things you can't control. But, I mean, the kids who did medal, Ashton West from Bermudian Springs, Andy and I were talking, like, if you told us one kid from Bermudian Springs is going to medal this year, who do you think it is? He would have been our sixth guess. Like, he kind of flew under the radar all season. He was kind of playing...
junior, senior?
He's a junior.
Okay.
I mean, he's good. He was good all year, but he was at sectionals, at districts, he was finishing third or fourth, where Scott Cooper from Bigler was finishing second, and then Cooper ended up not making states, and West just kind of stuck out a few real close matches. Even the last one he won to get onto the podium, he won in double overtime. So he came. He was tough. He had a big gash on his cheek, I think, by the end of it.
He had a nice little year in football. Didn't he play some running back for them and have some good games, couple 100-yard games? I remember
he's a good athlete. I think he had like
tough kid.
250 yards against Fairfield and 5 touchdowns or something. That was probably his big highlight in football season. But yeah, I mean, he's a tough kid.
Fairfield run defense had a tough time with Ashton West that night.
Yeah, but I was not, it was nice that he got to states, but I wasn't expecting much from him this year. But he got onto the podium, ended up finishing 8th. Mackley from Eastern, Tom Hunt did a good story about him and how he's the youngest of a few brothers who never medaled at states, and he was kind of the first one. He was kind of jobbing his brothers a little bit, like, hey, look what I did after, and Tom kind of captured that. Right? So that was cool for him. Gage Thomas from Southwestern, 4-year starter for them, hadn't been to states until this year, got there, won a really tough match, an ultimate tiebreaker to get onto the podium, beat a kid from Cumberland Valley that he had lost to at districts in the semifinals. So a little revenge for him, plus a medal. Nice to see him go out that way for his career. And Newberry got 4th, his second career medal. He wrapped up a pretty good career.
I have one question that pertains to wrestling, but it doesn't have to do with the tournament. You also did a story on Jordan Conaway, New Oxford.
Yeah, I
wrestles
did.
at Penn State, and he's going to be in the NCAA tournament this weekend.
That starts today, actually.
It starts today. I mean, if you want to kind of share some information on it, I find it intriguing.
Yeah, so he's got the most wins in New Oxford history. He is New Oxford's only state champion ever. His dad used to coach New Oxford for a long time. Check out the story for sure on Evening Sun website, but he had kind of an interesting run to get to Penn State. He was supposed to go to Liberty. That's where he had decided he was going to go. And after he won his state championship, Liberty cut the program. They said, we're just going to drop it down to a club program for Title IX concerns, things like that. Now he's left. What do I do? Well, by now he's a state champion.
Talk about left holding the bag.
Yeah, well, by this point, though, he's a state champion. He went to another tournament and really put himself on the map with some good wins. So this time around, he was getting calls from everybody. As soon as Liberty cut the program, every major college coach is calling him. And Sanderson from Penn State gave him a call. And Sanderson, if you don't know, he was a 4-time NCAA champ, undefeated. He's a legend, exactly. So when he called,
obviously
being from Pennsylvania, they listened for sure, and they went and checked it out. And not too long after that, he committed to Penn State. He's kind of, Penn State's obviously got a good team. He's kind of bounced around where he is in the lineup a little bit, finding the right weight for him. But he's in at 133 pounds this year as a senior. He's found his spot. He's ranked as the number 5 seed in the NCAA tournament this weekend. So he's looking. He took an 8th place medal home last year, so he's looking to improve on that a little bit, and he wants to win a national title. That's his goal. But
I would hope so if he's there. I mean, it would be disappointing if he was shooting for anything less. But more power to him. It's a really good story.
But, definitely to leave with another medal would be a big deal for him. And he has definitely had an interesting story, a little uncertainty along the way that everything's kind of worked out for him, and he's always been able to weather the storm and just keep getting better.
It's an awesome story.
Last thing, just to finally put the final bow on wrestling season, what's your biggest takeaways from the whole season? Pretty solid year all around, we said, for the York Adams, but if you have 1 or 2 takeaways from the whole season, what do you got?
Yeah, I mean, it was a good season. My highlight personally was the Spring Grove Southwestern dual meet. Like, that was just, you want to talk about atmosphere. Yeah. It was insane. I mean,
photos from there, people were bloodthirsty out of that stand.
Yeah, I mean, you had a whole student section from Southwestern. It's not a very long trip. They made the trip. You had the rivalry aspect of it. You had both teams being undefeated in the division title on the line. I mean, the way it worked out too, with the weight they started at and the way the coin flip went, Southwestern was able to build a lead. Spring Grove came back. Some really good matches at the end, like 2 matches with the triple overtime towards the end. Like, it was just insane. Like, it was probably the best atmosphere I've seen at a high school sporting event since I've been covering high school sports. Like, I wish every event would be that crazy. It was awesome.
Yeah, that's what it's all about. That's why I asked about the atmosphere of Giants. There's nothing like that stuff.
Yeah.
Especially in this area. All right, anything else from wrestling? That'll do it for the season?
Yeah, it was a great season. I enjoyed covering all of it. Enjoyed talking to you guys about it.
Zach's a little winded now. We're gonna give
Thank God Zach came on.
Yeah. We're going to give Zach the commercial break to catch his breath. We're going to talk some spring sports when we get back. We'll see you after the break.
So it's York Revolution baseball season.
And good! A walk-off home run! That's a double play! Unbelievable! And the Revs have won this game! Are you kidding me? This crowd going crazy! Can you believe it? Cue up the cannon! This baby's over!
Yep. Yeah, it's kind of exciting. The Revs play here. Sports Radio 1350 WOYK.
Did you know that Shipley Energy can take care of all your energy needs? From heating oil and propane to providing your home with electricity and natural gas. We also provide heating and air conditioning service and installation. All of your energy needs are under one roof at Shipley Energy. To learn more, visit ShipleyEnergy.com. Call 855-4SHIPLEY and don't forget to ask about our $100 rebate. Shipley Energy. Energy for life.
Previously on the York Revolution pregame show.
Everett George is our interview guest. Everett was signed up. Was it the whole homestand?
Yeah, the whole homestand.
And which was how many games?
7 games.
And you lasted in your role how many games?
1 game.
Have you been fired anywhere before?
Never. Post-game meal came down, and it was pulled pork and beans. I said, well, where's the buns? Where's the soda? Where's the water? And the coleslaw didn't come down till after everything was out. But I know what I can do. I can make a meal better with pulled pork, with beans. That's the reason I got fired, because I asked too many questions, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, they did me a favor. I don't have to. I can have 6 days off.
Revs Baseball on Sports Radio 1350 WOYK.
Security in life isn't something you just wish for. You build it with a strong financial plan. Start with Northwestern Mutual. Together, we'll design a disciplined and balanced approach to financial security, because reaching your goals is something we both want to work toward. To learn more, contact me, Dan McGarry, at my office on the Square in York. Look for the blue awnings. Who's helping you build your financial future? The Northwestern Mutual Life Insurance Company, Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
Your county, your teams. Sports Radio 1350 WOYK. First in York, first in sports.
GameDay, GameTimePA Sports Radio 1350. Back from the break, we're talking spring sports now. We're going to dive into some baseball first, hit up some volleyball, some lacrosse. We'll mention some other sports as well. We're basically going to give you some storylines to watch, some teams to watch, players to keep an eye on, maybe a few early predictions, all that jazz right there. First, Teddy, we're going to jump into your section really quick. Baseball is our first topic. West York's replacing a long-time successful coach over there with a guy named Scott Erickson, who I was hoping was the former Orioles great Scott Erickson. He is not that Scott Erickson.
That's confused quite a few people. Yeah. He is not the Scott Erickson.
I'll tell you right now, that would have been, if he was, we've really undercovered that.
Right. Or, if he brings a state title to West York, he'll be the Scott Erickson, and the other guy will be some footnote.
Yeah, that's right.
But go ahead, Teddy. What do you got?
Well, to tell you the truth, Brandon, you guys have been doing homework on the preview. I wanted to kick it over to you guys to get your thoughts. It seemed like that Cherwinski, it goes up being said, they had a very good program there for a long time.
They have a state title 2 years ago.
They have a state title under him. And he clearly held it down, and it was a prominent program in this area. There isn't a ton of programs coming out of here that are winning state championships,
right,
particularly in a high-profile sport. Now they have to replace him. What is their team looking like coming back? What are they looking to bring to the table there?
If I remember correctly, they have some – I don't have my sheets or anything from me. If I remember correctly, they have a pretty good talent coming back. I know they had a pretty solid year last year. And
this is West York?
West York.
Yeah, I know some of their key guys, though, from last year, some of those star names you recognize, like Kinnaman and Cash Gladfelter.
He's having a heck of a year at Shippensburg already.
Kinnaman got a legit D1 offer. Kinnaman's playing.
NC State.
Yeah.
Yep. And so those guys aren't back. So, it'll be interesting to see what they do. I'm sure there's talent that we don't even know about. But yeah, the big names that you would recognize are not coming back. So new coach starting fresh a little bit. It reminds me a little bit of what happened at Spring Grove last year. With new coach came in, a lot of new players came in, but they just kept it rolling. Yeah, exactly. They just kept it rolling the way they had been for a while.
It's kind of like their.
That's a good point.
It's kind of like their football program too. Is after Miller left, he left after a really successful run. He took a big senior class with him, and then Jones came in and had a pretty average year. But it might take him a little bit to get going. But they're a good program and their youth program solid. They've always had They've had a long history of being successful. They've had a lot of kids come up through the pipeline, so they're going to be. If he's not good this year, they'll be right back at it.
I think it's kind of nice too for a new coach to start with a new group of guys. You're not walking in. A lot of times it's an assistant or something from the previous year, but you're not walking into a situation where all these guys have been here for a while and you're the new coach. You're all kind of starting on the journey together.
Yeah.
Pardon my ignorance, but is he coming from the program or is he kind of outside coming in?
That's a solid question.
Yeah, I'm actually not sure about that either.
I'm honestly looking it up right now. I guess the reason I ask is just the simple fact that he obviously has a big shoes to fill, and I just wonder. It goes up being said that he is. He has big shoes to fill, and if he's kind of familiar with the program, he can kind of step in. But sometimes it's also nice to get some fresh blood in there, too. So, big challenge for him. Yeah. No question to fill those shoes. But
just checked on their all-star from last year, Brett Kinnaman. He's played in 4 games at NC State. He's 1 for 4 at the plate so far.
If you're getting a D1 offer to NC State, that's pretty legit. ACC doesn't mess around.
Not a joke.
No, it's not. It's no joke at all.
And his former teammate Cash Glove out there is at Shippensburg. We did a story a week or two ago in Shippensburg. They have 7 guys from York County on their roster. And Cash Glove out there's one. He actually moved. He was a middle infielder all-star for us last year here at West York. They moved him to first base this year. They liked his athleticism a lot and wanted to get him more playing time early.
He is a real tall guy. Probably works for first base.
Yeah, he's been very successful. He was hitting, when I talked to him about a week ago, he was hitting 300 plus. They said his transition, he'd only played 5 games at first base, and they said he looked like a natural there. They've also got Austin Allison, a central grad in center field. They got one of the Hoyles from Spring Grove.
Yep.
They
Dalton.
Boy, had a beard.
Yeah, they got.
No, I think you're thinking of his brother Derek. Maybe both.
Yeah, both. One of them had a beard.
They've got Spangler from Spring Grove. They got a Dallastown kid, a Dover kid, a West York kid. So they're pretty loaded with their roster from our area. Yeah. Speaking of Spring Grove, Zach, we expect them to make another run.
What'll be interesting is that last year they had no expectations to really worry about. This year it's almost entirely the same guy. The only one they lost was Anthony Reed, who was their number 2 pitcher last year. Everybody else is back. Matt Brooks obviously is the big name, but every role player at every other position other than Reed is back this year. So, based on that, you'd expect them to have a good season again. Everyone at Media Day was talking about them as the favorite to win the league, to win the division for sure. But you always wonder how a team's going to react when there are actually expectations this time around. Where last year they were able to play a little looser, fly under the radar, no one was expecting anything. But I know they've been putting the work in. They know what the expectations are. They know what they did last year, and they want to come back this year and prove it and do even better than they did last year. They ended up going to states but getting no hit at states. They want to improve on that for sure. So, yeah, I think it's reasonable to have high expectations for them, though. With so many guys back from a team that just won a division, how could you not?
And, DeLone and Littlestown were pretty decent down there last year. Southwestern started off pretty hot down there.
Yeah, well, Southwestern, they've kind of been coming from a couple down years. I think they won 3 games 2 years ago, only ended up winning 6 last year. They kind of fell off a lot at the end. Yeah, they lost Kyle Robinstein, who was probably their best player, but a lot of the team is on the younger side. Division 1's going to be tough because I know Red Lion's supposed to be pretty tough. Dallastown always seems to have a decent program. People have a lot of respect for New Oxford and Coach Scott Anderson, that he'll have his program ready to go. So
Central's supposed to be pretty solid now this year.
Yeah, so Division 1 is kind of wide open. It's easy to peg Spring Grove as the favorite, but it's not like they're going to walk over anybody.
Right, there's no easy wins in Division 1 this year.
Right, exactly. So you never know. Down in the Hanover area, DeLone has a bunch of guys back, but they are missing, Hunter Keith was their main pitcher last year. Chase Kint's going to be their big pitcher this year. I haven't really seen him pitch a lot last year. But, yeah, they definitely have some guys back. It usually kind of comes down to them and York Catholic in that division. I don't know that Littlestown is a new coach. I don't know that they're going to be great, although they started really hot last year. So, maybe if they find a little more consistency, maybe they can do that. Although they're Division 3 in baseball. And Eastern York's going to be tough this year. They still have the 2 pitchers from last year. They're going to be tough.
Eastern's pitching staff is very good. You mentioned Dallas, Redliners supposed to take pretty big steps forward. Susky's been mentioned as a possible surprise team.
Yeah, I would say keep an eye on Gettysburg too. That's a team that has a lot of guys back, and really, I think had a better season than people realized last year. They had a weird situation where they kept having suspended games, like games where they were tied in extra innings, and then they either got too dark or started storming, or the plate broke at Littlestown. The home plate broke.
That's right, I remember that.
And they couldn't continue playing. So they had a lot of unfinished games during the season, and then when they did finish them, they actually ended up pretty close to making districts. They did pick up a lot of wins. So most of those guys are back too. I would definitely say they're a team to keep an eye on in Division 3.
And just to go back to our Shippensburg guys, I looked it up. Cash Gloughledger's in 296 as a freshman, 1 home run, 7 RBIs in 15 games. He started 15 games for him. Grant Hoover, another York Adams guy, 316 average, 1 homer, 13 ribbies. Austin Allison from Central, 339, no home runs, 11 RBIs. And then Dalton Hoyles, 413, 3 home runs, 19 RBIs. 19 RBIs in 17 games, hitting 400 plus.
It's a pretty good baseball area.
Yeah.
I mean, the fan base is good. There's some pretty good talent that comes from here. You could make the argument it's kind of a baseball community. I mean, I think that it can kind of go a couple different ways, but it's there.
We've had baseball teams make runs to states, which we haven't had in other sports as often. I mean,
and we mentioned West York already.
West York's won a state title. Bermudian won a state title not too long ago.
Yeah, Spring Grove seems to always be there.
Always right there. Eastern's really good right now. So it's definitely a pretty solid area. We'll jump into boys volleyball quick, as always, or as has been the last couple of years. Is basically Northeastern and everyone else. I mean, they've won 2-3 straight state titles, and they bring everyone back. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, they're going for a national title this year, right? Did I see that?
They won a national. Their club team, which is made up of their entire high school roster, basically, they play the club game together and have their own team. Is going to nationals over the summer, and it's the top 36 teams from the country. But most of that is like a Dallas Fort Worth All-Star team, or a Spokane, Seattle all-star team.
From a large metro area, not just a little portion of the York area.
This is just Northeastern's varsity team.
It's crazy.
And they're going toe-to-toe. These some of the other schools, I was looking on it, and it's crazy. Yeah, it's like, Los Angeles All-Stars, and it's like everyone from Southern California, all the best volleyball players from Southern California.
It's like L.A., Miami Beach, York County.
Yeah, and it's not even York County. It's just Northeastern. They might add a stringer from Central, but it's just Northeastern's team, basically. And they're hanging with them. They've done it the last 2 years. The first year they got there, they finished like 25th or something like that. Last year, I think they got it up to around 20 or 19, and this year they want to get a little bit further. But they bring everyone back. They got Reese Devilbiss, who's an Ohio State commit. He's all American. He's back again. And these guys look like they've been here forever. Jeffrey Reynolds, who picked up the sport in high school, a great basketball player as well. Dominant. He's back. He's an all-district type talent. Brandon Aarons is on that line too. I mean, they're Matt Schaefer. That whole starting lineup is it's an all-star team by itself.
Of course, Central, who's a defending state champ too, has to replace Brad Livingston, so that'll be interesting.
Not a defending state champ. They won a state champ 2 years ago, not last year.
I think they were quarterfinalists last year.
year.
Had a good run, though.
I apologize.
Had a good run.
But anyway, he had some success there, or a lot of success there.
Oh, for sure.
Livingston had a lot of success there. They've been to 20-something district titles.
Now, they hired his assistant.
They hired his assistant. They went with Todd Goodling, who... That was a very, very popular hire in Central York. A lot of the alumni, a lot of the former players wanted him. He's been next to Brad for 20-something years now.
And I think from my understanding, Brad, he was a big delegator as a head coach. So Todd, obviously,
Todd's done a lot.
He did a lot.
He's very involved, and that's what he said. He wished nothing for the best for Brad. He wants to make Brad Livingston proud, but he said Livingston never made him feel like an assistant coach. It felt like they were just all they were both head coaches.
That's right.
So there shouldn't be too much of a transition period. They've lost a lot of talent. It's going to be maybe a small step back year for them, but they're in good hands according to everyone that I've talked to. They'll definitely be good. There's some other teams. I think it was either Spring Grove or New Oxford supposed to take a decent step forward. I think Red Line thinks they're pretty solid this year. Suburban's usually pretty solid. So
Dallestown
tends to have a pretty good team. Those are some of the coaches' picks. I just kind of asked them, straw poll, who do you got?
Sure.
And those are some of the names that popped up.
Cool. And then how about lacrosse? You're our lacrosse expert here. So what?
Yeah. Why did it take this long?
I was waiting for somebody to bring it up. I know.
Give us some of the top girls and boys teams, and also tell us a little about the feature you did that came out yesterday. It sounds like we got a girl come up from Maryland, so she's from Maryland, so she's a really good player.
Brandon predicted last week that she's going to score 9 zillion goals. It seemed pretty high.
That was the lead in the story. Is that there's kind of a stereotype from Maryland or maybe even New York, you're automatically going to be a good lacrosse player. And I brought that up to her coach, and she kind of laughed. She's like, you know what? They're probably right when it comes to her. And like, she's actually she's the real deal.
She fits the stereotype.
And where's she playing at?
She's playing at Red Lion.
Okay.
Red Lion was already pretty solid. You know, they were pretty solid. They were kind of a borderline playoff team, maybe a little bit above 500, bringing everyone back, and then add an all-star from Maryland. So they can make some noise.
And she's committed somewhere Division I, right? Cincinnati,
which is a pretty solid D1 program. Her list of offers was great though. I mean, she chose them over solid lacrosse schools. Marquette, Drexel, Towson were also in her top ones. She narrowed it down to Cincinnati or Drexel. She said that she went 12 hours through a blizzard to do her Cincinnati trip, and she said after that, you might as well commit. You know what I mean?
He came that far.
If that didn't ruin it for her, then yeah, go there.
She said she showed up, and the campus was beautiful under the snow, and she met the coaches and loved it. But she said, I couldn't come back. I couldn't drive 24 combined hours and not commit to a college. Basically,
I think she made a good choice.
So yeah, it was a good choice. But she's gonna be pretty solid. She was like an all-league type player down there at a pretty good school. She plays midfield. She's expected to have a pretty good year. Red Line will be pretty solid. Braxton Reddinger from New Oxford is back again. She's been one of the top goal scorers for years. She's a senior. Now that Morgan Day's out of the way or no longer here, it's kind of Reddinger's. Reddinger would have won the scoring title in pretty much any other year except for she had Morgan Day in front of her. So now she scored 77 last year. I think she could hit 80, 85, 90 in that range. She's 12 short of 200 for her career. UMBC commit. She's been committed.
So she'll knock that out in like a game.
Yeah, they're pretty solid. They got Riley Bateman with her too. Another really good young scorer, so New Oxford will be pretty solid. Around the league, this is York Catholic's year for sure. I think this is definitely. I mean, they bring back 9 starters or something like that. I think it is. They bring back 3 all-stars. I mean, they're loaded.
Girls,
yeah.
They were very good last year. They went neck and neck with KD.
They went neck and neck with KD, but KD loses Morgan Day,
That's what I'm saying.
who set the national record for goals. They lose Day, Davis, and Duty.
So it's York Catholic's time.
So, I mean, Kennerdale always reloads. Kennerdale's still going to be up there, but if there's blood in the water, it's this year. And Kennerdale's won like 6 straight league titles. They haven't lost a game to a league team since 2011. Yeah, on the girls' side, I would say York Catholic, if I had to guess right now, would be 1. I'd put Katie and Susky kind of 2 and 3, and then maybe a Red Line at 4, West York at 4. They'll be pretty solid too. On the boys' side's really, this is the deepest boys' league we've had in maybe ever. Normally in the York League, there's 1 or 2 good players here and there, which is kind of evidenced by the fact that our all-league team went and won a championship at State College in a tournament up there. But now we actually have solid teams, like solid full rosters. So there's a bunch of really good teams. Susky was one of the best teams last year. They added Anthony DeVincent, a really good goal scorer from Southwestern. He transferred to Susky right before the season started, so the rich get richer there. That's like a big free agent pickup for them, basically.
Yeah, I remember that name from last year. Interesting.
Yeah, he had a great year last year.
It's like that great NFL player getting cut in training camp, and he goes to the team like forced for
It was a great veteran.
Preseason.
It was a great veteran pickup during training camp for Susky.
Exactly.
They're definitely going to be. Most people are kind of taking them 1. Red Line's going to be able to score in bunches. They've got Jack Gemmel and Sam Emig up front. Those are both 2 really, really good scorer, first-team All-Stars.
Yeah, they were really good last year.
They'll definitely be able to score. York Catholic is going to be able to score, but their defense is kind of the question mark. So their games are going to be like 17-16. I mean, they're going to give up a ton of goals, but they're going to be able to score a ton of goals. It's kind of to see what kind of balance they can strike up. Central could be a sleeper team. Spring Grove is a young, good team. They finished really strong last year with a young roster. They got some confidence coming in this year. West York won the league last year. They lose Player of the Year Hunter Betts, so we'll see how far of a step back they take. But yes, for Spring Grove is a sleeper pick. York Catholic's kind of a sleeper. Suburban still got Colin Mailman. As long as you have one of the best players on the field, the Drexel commit, you got a chance to win.
He fired that wiffle ball over my head at 110 miles per hour.
Yeah, I'm gonna hang out with those guys. Him and a couple Susky players Saturday. We're gonna mess around with the GoPro and shoot around and see what we can come up with. But he's going to be one of the best players in the league. On the girls' side, Braxton Reddinger is going to be the big time goal scorer. The league actually, the girls' side has a ton of good defenders like Haley Martinez, Rachel Marshner, Mara Palangio. A lot of our best players in the league are on defense on the girls' side, which is pretty different compared to most leagues. But yeah, that's kind of the quick rundown there.
All right, I think we should wrap that up. We're starting to run out of time.
Zach did wrestling, Brandon did lacrosse.
Yeah, I mean,
we're good. Teddy's got the rest.
Yeah.
We'll be back talking about Russ Stoner after this.
Looking for something cool to do this weekend? Come to the coolest place in town and learn to play hockey or figure skate at the York Ice Arena. The York Ice Arena offers a Learn to Skate program for skaters of all ages and abilities, directed by ISA and USFSA qualified instructors. Skating classes range from beginner to freestyle. Hockey classes cover the basics of the game. All classes include free skate rental and 5 free skating passes so you can try out your new skills. And remember, the coolest place in town is also available for the coolest birthday party in town. Host your birthday bash in group spaces or with a private ice rental. Public skating at the York Ice Arena is available afternoons, evenings, and weekends. Skate for just $7 and rent your skates for just $3. Plus, you can save with discount passbooks. Oh, and ask about gift cards and kids' prepaid debit cards. So if you're looking to learn something cool, come to the coolest place in town and learn to skate at the York Ice Arena. For more information and to register, go to yorkskate.com.
Ah, spring is here. And Cannonball Charlie has his ammunition.
Here he swings and hammers it. Watch this one go. It's a game winner.
York Revolution Baseball is back.
It's deep. It is gone. A high drive deep down the left field line. It is gone. A walk-off.
Take that, every other team. The new Sports Radio 1350 WOYK.
Waking up with the Zabe. The Steve Zabin Show.
And we've got a breathe right strip controversy now heading into the Belmont. How come nobody in the annals of horse racing history thought to define whether or not you can wear a horsey breathe right strip? Isn't this the equivalent of a hood scoop on a car?
Your quarter panels are up 1/8 of an inch higher than mine. That allows for a little aerodynamic mess underneath the vehicle.
Join me, Steve Zabin, mornings at 6 on Sports Radio 1350 WOYK.
The Dan Patrick Show would like to present Awkward Moments.
What did Nolan Ryan do with the former First Lady?
He went in, he was going for the kiss, she went for the hug, and he ended up sort of air kissing over her left shoulder.
It's kind of like a cug. A kiss and a hug. I'm going to give you a cug.
And now, Awkward Moments firsthand.
He's Nolan Ryan, the Rangers president. I saw where you got caught between a hug and a kiss with the president's wife after you guys won the game. You weren't sure if you're supposed to hug or give her a kiss. Did you feel like it was one of those awkward moments after the win?
Well, I didn't really look at it that way. I think we were all excited and just relieved that we finally got the right columns.
I didn't know if Secret Service was stepping in there, though.
Well, I can tell you, we had plenty of it last night.
On Sports Radio 1350 WOYK. First in York, first in sports. Your teams all the time. York's only place for local sports. Sports Radio 1350 WOYK.
About how great the Caps have been. They're at 105 points in the NHL.
No, you were. We were not.
I care less about that team.
Anyway, this is our final segment. We're just going to touch on some other talking points. Teddy, we're going to revisit the Stoner thing for you guys. Missed the beginning of the show. Russ Stoner was approved last night by the board. He agreed to the job the day before. They approved it last night with the board. Russ Stoner will take over as York High's football coach. And they've been, they're kind of late to the game. He's going to have to play catch up because other schools have done workouts and stuff like that, off-season workouts. York High didn't have a coach or an AD for a while there.
They probably didn't, no offense, they probably didn't have many players either. I don't know if they had 40 kids on their team last year.
No, their roster was pretty depleted, and their AD left, their basketball coach left, their football coach left. So there was no.
The cupboard is bare.
The cupboard's pretty bare. They had Stu Chris was doing their kind of interim work, trying to hold everything together, and he did a phenomenal job doing it, but. Ron Kersey comes in as the new AD. He moves here in February. His first thing on the to-do list is find a football coach. He finds Russ Stoner, who applied months ago. That's who his pick is.
Yeah, I got a question. So I never met Russ Stoner, but it sounds like he's a pretty intense guy. Yeah. And I know from what I understand, there's been some turmoil, at York High between maybe parents and coaches, players. Definitely a little tumultuous situation.
And in fairness, when you have a losing situation like that, that's
it doesn't
to
help,
have,
right?
Yeah.
I think the fans really wanted to change. They were over the Sean Heinold thing. You can't go 17-44 and expect many people to stay on the bandwagon.
Yeah. I just wonder if he's going to be able to come in with that personality. Is that going to make a tumultuous situation worse, or is it going to maybe be the kick it needs to kind of clear it up a little bit?
And that might be overblown. We're making him sound like Bobby Knight, he's throwing chairs out there. Like he took a year off, and he said it kind of humbled him. He said he's going to do some things differently now. But yeah, he's a very passionate person. He's also he's a great family person. He'll talk your ear off on the street. He's a great, very outgoing person, and he some parents didn't like the way I guess he ran things at Spring Grove. He ran them in a more upbeat college type practice, and he demands the most out of his players, and that can come off sometimes as a kind of a polarizing person.
It's tough to be that guy in 2016. I mean, let's call it what it is. Coaching has changed, but I'll say this: if they improve, if they take steps forward, it doesn't even need to be monumental steps. If fans see rays of hope, they're fine. That's all he needs to worry about. You can be whatever really you want to be if you are winning and improving your team. And I just think that is really going to be, it goes without being said, that's going to be his big challenge. And it's going to be about getting some of the great athletes in that school to come out. Basketball, you can be a William Penn basketball program, and if you get 2, 3, 4 guys that can ball, you're going to have a team.
Yeah.
Football's different. You need to have 20's not even enough. And it starts in the trenches. Offensive line, defensive line, getting those grunt work guys up front that are going to mow people down. What are they going to bring out to that? You need 40 to 60 dudes.
Yeah.
You need that. You need players. I'm sure they have some receivers and some backs that can boogie, but they need guys in the trenches that are going to block and maul. That's what you need.
We know they have athletes. I mean, their track team is full of athletes.
The
Basketball too.
The basketball team, and they're only. It was only right before Heinold got there. When Ortega was here, they were going 9-1, 10-0 every year. I mean, the talent's here. They have a list of guys who have played in the NFL come from York High. I think the first thing he has a decent staff put together already. He's going to try and fill it out the next week or two. He's going to hopefully have some York High greats come back. Like the Richard Muldrow was a great player. He wants to have him come back. That'd be big. Wayne Tribune, former player of his at Central, went to play at Temple, plays with Philadelphia Soul now. He had a stint with the Saints and Denver Broncos. He might come back and coach as well, which would be big. But he's an offensive lineman. There you go, right in the trenches. Stoner's background's on defense, so York High's defense is going to be better. They're not going to be as bad as they were last year.
And he's going to want to run the rock.
And he was a all league running back at West York back in the day. And he likes to run the ball. So when he was at Spring Grove, they had DeLauder, who was one of the best running backs for years in the league. So he's going to bring defense. He's going to run the ball. He's going to bring a toughness that York High hasn't had in years. And I think that's what's going to be the biggest change.
Well, it certainly is a talking point. I mean,
yeah, it seems like a little bit of a risk reward thing to me. He maybe. If it doesn't go well, his personality, maybe causes issues. I don't know if he's maybe changed, but maybe you do need the strong personality to come in and fix things. You don't want a guy who's just run of the mill. That guy's not going to make any significant changes.
Right, and that's kind of what people were saying Heinold was at the end. He wasn't a very, I guess, fiery type guy. But yeah, Stoner's going to demand it. I think he's going to bring a fire and kind of light up a spark in that program a little bit. And I think they need it. They need a kick in the butt right now because too many kids were skipping practice and skipping school because they didn't care anymore.
I will say this: there are some programs out there where you could have Nick Saban there, and this is college pro and maybe even the NFL. I've never had I've never dabbled in the NFL, but where you can't win, and the question is. Can they win? There is no worse situation in the entire world as a coach than when you have zero hope. And those situations do exist. Last year they looked hopeless.
Yes.
Can he get hope there? That's got to be his number one thing, the feeling of belief.
And that's what Ortega, former coach who did really well, I was talking to him on the phone for a story we did, and he said Nick Saban couldn't have won there last year.
I know,
He's like,
exactly.
With the way the program was, Saban could have come in here and not turned that team around.
And that's the type of thing, when you're a coach, that's how you have a nervous breakdown. So you have a nervous breakdown in those situations because you just want a fighter's chance. They're no different than us. If you feel like you have a chance, you're good.
Right, and he's going to hold kids accountable. I think he's going to have that. But I mean, at Spring Grove, he was beloved after a year or two, and then he kind of rubbed people the wrong way eventually, and things went downhill after 3 or 4 years. So we'll see how long his welcome lasts. Like I said, I think they'll go 3-7-ish this year. And
that's still a huge improvement,
right?
If they go 3-7 this year, he's getting a Gatorade shower. Honestly,
2 or 3 wins this year, I think would be a good step.
Especially considering the schedule, Division I plus, they're probably going to play Reading, Harrisburg, and those teams again.
Yeah, the schedule's going to change a little bit now with the new classification, so we'll see what they end up doing. But
they need more than 35-40 kids.
They do. On the field. Participation, and it's got to start now. I know he's going to be in the weight room. He's going to be in the classrooms this week for sure. So we'll see. Central's up next. Central's the last team without a football coach. They got to get their stuff together. So we'll see what they do. It should be coming soon. I mean, AD Marty Trimmer said by the end of March is what they were hoping.
Bill Cower? That's a joke.
Yeah, I think he's available. I think John Gruden's hanging around
Cower
too.
wants to stay on CBS.
That'd be insane.
How much time left? We wrapping it up? All right, let's cut it out. That's it for the week. We'll be back next week to spring sports start next week, so we'll have more spring sports for you next week. Thanks for tuning in.
Adios.
First in York, first in sports. Your only local sports station. The new Sports Radio 1350. WOYK, York, Pennsylvania.